Everyone wants to be stronger, not just physically, but in every part of life. But between confusing workout advice, complicated equipment, and trying to figure out nutrition, where does anyone even start? Well, to get stronger mentally and physically, go to Anytime Fitness. You'll get a personalized training, nutrition, and recovery plan, all customized to your body, your strength level, and your goals. You'll get expert coaching to optimize your results, anytime, anywhere, in the gym and on the Anytime Fitness app. And you'll get anytime access to 5,500 gyms worldwide, all with the right equipment to level up your strength gains and your life. So get started at AnytimeFitness.com. That's AnytimeFitness.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this football Friday. That means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up. You were here with us. Our last home football Friday of the year. These are some of my favorite shows that we do. I tell you that every time there's a home game in Tiger Stadium. And is this one carrying a ton of juice with it? It is not. But I'm still fired up because it's a Friday. The weather's decent. I'm going to take Myers Man to the basketball game tonight, and we'll be in Tiger Stadium one more time tomorrow night. We'll certainly talk LSU and Western Kentucky as the show moves forward. We'll also get to Preston Guy here in 15 minutes. We'll have our NFL table setting, if you will. SEC picks against the spread at the top of hour number 2. Take it or leave it. My final pick for Saints and Falcons is coming up at the end of this hour, and certainly final pick for LSU and Western Kentucky as well. Before we hit our Genesis opening drive, I want to just kind of lay out where I'm sitting right now because I know what you're doing. I don't know you personally, probably. I might, but I don't know most of you personally. But if you're listening to this show, you're locked into our station today, you're probably refreshing Twitter. You're probably texting your buddies. You're probably scouring the message boards, a premium one, Tiger droppings, whatever. You're probably doing that. This is probably not a super productive day across the state of Louisiana. I get that vibe from the people I know. You want answers. 8:15 meeting, noon meeting, it's 1 o'clock, it's Friday, it's D-Day, it's Kiffin Day. Give me answers. Here's where I'm sitting right now. I think it's possible between now and 3 o'clock we have something to tell you. I won't be reporting it as I'm sitting here doing the show. I'll have seen it on the internet. I don't know that I would use the word likely. I don't think it's likely I have something to tell you. If I have something to tell you between now and 3 o'clock on this show, now Matt's on until 6. That's a little bit of a different animal. That's 5 more hours. In my 2-hour window, if I have something to tell you, my inclination would be that Lane Kiffin and or Keith Carter and or Ole Miss football's official Twitter handle will have sent out a tweet saying that Lane Kiffin signed a contract extension. If something happens in the next 2 hours, I think it's that. If nothing happens, I think you may see the tide turn here towards LSU. That's all conjecture. That's all hearsay. I'm not in Oxford right now. So I give you this. I'm not ignoring that story. I promise you I'm not. But I don't have a lot to add right now at 1 o'clock on Friday other than we feel like the heat has reached a level in Oxford that is going to tip the scales. I don't know which way it's going to go. If you told me Lane Kiffin was going to sign a contract because he had to coach that team in the playoff, I would believe you. If you told me he wanted to coach the team in the playoff, but he also wants to be the LSU coach, and Ole Miss put his feet to fire and he goes, all right, I'll leave. I would believe that too. I realize that's sitting on the fence. If I had it 90% one way, I'd tell you, but I don't. I'm going to sit on the fence because I think Lane Kiffin is still on the fence. If we hear something in the next 2 hours, either way, I'll let you know. But I'll tell you, I don't feel like that's likely. We'll see. That's on until 6. That could be a different animal. 5 hours on down the road. So with that said, here's our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Senior night, tomorrow night, inside Tiger Stadium, LSU in Western Kentucky. I went through this whole song and dance yesterday, and this is a similar beginning to that, but it'll go a little bit further into one aspect of this game. I'm not prepared to tell you that the next 2 games are going to have a significant impact on LSU's football team next year. I'm not 100% sure Michael Van Buren's going to be the quarterback next year. I'm not 100% sure Harlan Berry's going to be running the ball for LSU. Not 100% sure Caden Durham's going to be running the ball for LSU. I'm not 100% sure any of those young offensive linemen up front will be back with a different coaching staff. I'm not here to tell you that DJ Pickett and PJ Woodland are definitely going to be the corners for next year. I'm not here to tell you that I know that Don McKinley and Ahmad Bro are dudes that are going to be more moving forward with LSU. Could be. They could. They'll certainly have that option. I don't know. This is the time of year where we would usually do that. We don't anymore because of the transfer portal. So my inclination is to kind of look at the game at hand with an understanding that the future is uncertain. Tomorrow, in this game, LSU and Western Kentucky, I'm looking at one aspect of it just for, call it personal satisfaction. Call it fandom. Call it too little, too late. Certainly would be. But I want LSU to bully somebody. Bully somebody. And this Western Kentucky team is prime for being bullied on the ground. Statistically, you look at Western Kentucky, and they rank 11th of 12 teams in Conference USA against the run. Now, there are times in September where maybe if you're a group of 5, group of 6 team, and you've played 2 Power 5 teams, you played Ohio State and you played USC, you played Ohio State and you played Florida, like you're cashing a big check in September and you get crushed and one of those teams runs for 365 on you and like your stats are way out of whack. That can happen early in the season. Smaller sample size, one huge outlier. But we're now towards the end of the season, and Western Kentucky hasn't played a single Power 4 team. They have not played a Power 4 team. This is their only Power 4 game of the year. And they're 11th of 12 Conference USA teams against the run. Look at these statistics. Toledo, the Rockets, ran for 307 on Western Kentucky. Nevada, the Wolfpack, ran for 207 against this Western Kentucky front. Missouri State, I think they're the Bears. Bringing back from my baseball memory, I'm not sure. Missouri State, whatever they are, they ran for 214. In Florida International, the Panthers ran for 249 yards on Western Kentucky. These Hilltoppers have been gashed on the ground. How about running the ball, LSU? I'll tell you what. I go in the press box tomorrow night, and I see Michael Van Buren handing off to Harlan Berry and him ripping off huge runs. I know that's not inching LSU any closer to an SEC championship or a college football playoff berth, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see the young buck get free, get out in the open, show the speed, bust a 65-yarder, make a safety miss. Just, as I said right there at the open, like for personal satisfaction. We've been following Harlan Berry's recruitment for a long time. There's a reasonable chance he is the face of LSU's running game next year. How about it starts tomorrow night with a really nice go? I thought he looked great in the first half against Texas A&M. I thought he was grounded in the game at Alabama against the substandard SEC rushing defense. Well, you were okay running the ball last week against Arkansas. You were okay. Weren't bad. Weren't great. You were good enough. Busted some big ones. This Western Kentucky defensive front stinks. So your LSU offensive line needs to get to the line of scrimmage and knock these guys out of the way. I look at LSU's stat sheet, and you look at the rushing, and it's just disappointing. Florida, 25 carries for 96 yards, less than 4 yards a carry. Against Southeastern, you run for 135. You got to be better than that against an FCS team. You went to Ole Miss, 22 carries for 57 yards. Terrible. Against Vanderbilt, you ran for 100, which is not going to get you there. Against A&M, 60 yards on the ground. Against Alabama, 59 yards on the ground. If nothing else, take out some frustration on these guys. Get behind your pads, run the football. We heard Frank Wilson say when he took the job, we're going to run the football. We heard LSU's offensive linemen come to player interviews like, we're going to run the football. Well, give it to Harlem Berry, give it to Caden Durham, show some creativity in the run game. Like they've done some different things. And just knock Western Kentucky out of the way and run the football. It's just like a stress relief to get that done. That's what I want to see in this game first and foremost. I mentioned that Michael Van Buren's going to be under center. We learned yesterday from Frank Wilson that Garrett Nussmeier's not going to play in this game. Like, yeah, I'd like to see Michael Van Buren throw the ball a little bit, but I'd also like to see him in the read option game, and I'd like to see LSU run the ball. I'd like to write a column after the game about the career-high rushing total for Harlem Berry and the great talent he displayed and how that stacks up with some freshman backs of yesteryear. There's nothing else to gain from this. You're playing for pride. You're playing for your seniors. You're trying to conjure up any sort of emotional edge you can get. I understand you can go to Tuscaloosa and play hard and play tough after a bye week with a new coach. I understand you can go out there in front of your home crowd against Arkansas and get that win for Frank Wilson. There's very little outside of senior night to get these guys going against Western Kentucky in a half-empty stadium tomorrow night. So for me, I'm pulling these run numbers up for LSU's offensive line and going, y'all ran for 59 in Tuscaloosa. You ran for 60 against A&M. You ran for 57 against Ole Miss. You played as FCS team Southeastern. You were only able to run for $135. You want to prove something? You want to take out some frustration? Knock Western Kentucky out of the way like Toledo did, like Florida International and Missouri State did. I understand if you're an LSU fan, you're like, oh, I'd really like to see Van Buren. I think that's the quarterback of the future. And I'm not dismissing that completely, and he'll get his opportunities. I want Berry. I want Durham. I want that offensive line to move forward, push some guys out of the way. That's what I'm looking for on Saturday night in Death Valley. All right, we're off and running here on this Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Cork, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. I always love telling you about Cork's. Not too late. If you've got a tailgate tomorrow on campus, you're thinking, just really don't want to bring the grill out there, bring the cooker out there this time around. I understand it's the last time. Maybe just get Corks to help you out. They'll get you those big trays, the crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy shoestring fries, hush puppies, honey butter rolls, beignet bites, all the sauces your heart desires. Makes tailgating really easy. Maybe you got a watch party for tomorrow. You're going to watch the Tigers and all the other football that's going on. Cork's happy to help you out with that. And if you'd like a late lunch, they can do that for you right now as well, just after 1 o'clock. Get on by Government between Foster and Jefferson. It's Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, and they are online at corksfishandshrimp.com. We will step aside. Preston Guy from tigerbait.com. They've been all over the coaching search. We'll talk to him next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Hitter's House at Marucci. Shop, save, and swing into the holidays with Hitter's House Warehouse Sale. The Baton Rouge sale runs November 28th through December 14th. They're offering huge discounts on some of your favorite gear from Marucci, Victus, Balm, Lizard Skins. If you're a fast-pitch softball player, you've got one in your house, you already know about Assura, you've got to go check it out. It's the hottest new fast-pitch bat, and it is taking over. You can have it at the Hitter's House. Looking for footwear, cleats, trainers, so on, off the field, you got it over there at the Hitter's House with Marucci, so you're set up like the pros. You can take hacks in the batting cage, and you can get 24/7 access to the member cages if you become a member. But we want to tell you about the Hitter's House sale coming up November 28th through December 14th at Marucci.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork's, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Get you that broadcast schedule for tomorrow. 6:45 kickoff, LSU and Western Kentucky. So we'll be on Eagle 98.1 Game Day, 1:45 from Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee. Tune in to Matt Musso and Charles Hannegriff from the Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee at 1:45. I'll take over at 4:45 for the LSU Sports Radio Network pregame show. We'll get you to the broadcast of the game 30 minutes after it goes final. Myself, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite will be with you for the Fighting Tiger postgame report. And then 90 minutes after the game goes final, Richard Dixon, Charles Hannegriff from right here in the Raising Cane's studio for Eagle 98.1 Game Day's postgame show. So we'll start at 1:45 p.m. till probably about 2 a.m. under the Guarantee family here on 104.5 ESPN and Eagle 98.1. Let's go to the Jim's Firearms Hospital. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com is with us. Preston, how we doing?
Did you just call it the Jim's Firearms Hospital?
Did I?
You did, 100%.
Because I read your text message that said something about a hospital. And that's just how it goes on live radio. You just sometimes read a word. Like, there's all the time I hear someone say something when I'm typing a story, and I type that word that I just heard. And then I look at it and go, I wasn't trying to type that at all. But I saw that you just texted about the hospital. Everything good over there?
We are leaving the doctor for now. No baby right now.
All right.
But it's possible it's today. But we will see.
I mean, anything's possible today. New coaches, new babies in the Guy household. I guess it's just an endless possibility on this Friday. So let's focus on the coach and let your lovely bride handle the other side of things. I know you all have been all over it at Tiger Bait. What's your feeling on a timeline? I know we're all being speculative at this point.
Yeah, from my understanding, they're probably still in a meeting right now. I actually haven't gotten word if it's ended or not. I'm literally at the hospital right now. So it's like, I've kind of, the last 30 minutes I've been out of it. But I believe they are still in a meeting discussing his future and figuring out what that fallout's going to look like. So my guess would be, and again, this could be drastically different based on what his decision is, I do believe we're going to get I believe Lane Kiffin will get some clarity as a final decision, right? If it's, okay, we're going to sign an extension and stay at Ole Miss, I think that would come out pretty quickly because there's not really many moving parts to that. Just sign the paper and let's make the announcement because they're going to have an initiative to clear this thing up. I mean, there's a lot of turmoil in Oxford right now. Important people are very upset at all these antics. They want stability. They wish they were focused on possibly winning a national championship. They're set to host a playoff game. I mean, this is a historic season for Oxford. So a lot of people are pissed off this is going on right now. People you don't want pissed off. So if that's the decision, I think things will move pretty quickly because it's like, all right, sign the dotted line, Lane, and let's get the press release out there. And because this is a distraction in their locker room. It is a very known talking point amongst players, and there's been a lot of grumblings in that locker room about this. So that being said, that course would be very quick. The course of option where I'm going to try to drag this out or go somewhere else, that might take a little longer to come to fruition. Maybe it's one of those things where Lane decides and then he has to turn around and then move chess pieces and figure out exactly what's going on. When is he going to leave? Which school, by the way, because Florida is still in play. I still have a high level of confidence that, LSU would be the option, but this is Lane Kiffin, and that's the one thing I cannot emphasize enough. Chaos unmitigated. He is it is a complete wild card. Anybody who speaks with any confidence on anything is a fool who is begging to be made look stupid publicly. It just is what it is. But all that to say, if it were LSU, it would be like, okay, well, now we got to figure out, okay, are you coaching the Egg Bowl? Yes or no? Are they going to let you coach the Egg Bowl? Yes or no? I guess it depends on how smoothly the meeting goes. I can tell you this, they will not let him coach a playoff game unless he signs that extension. So there's a lot more logistics that come out. So I wouldn't be shocked if we hear something later tonight. More likely we would be looking at this weekend or maybe even Monday to hear something more final on that front if he were to leave.
Let me ask you this. How should LSU fans feel if Lane Kiffin comes to Baton Rouge about a coach that left Tennessee after a year, that was let go from Alabama right before the national championship game, that flirted with Auburn and then came back, and then that's doing this and in the middle of a playoff run? Like, how should LSU fans feel about that guy coming to Baton Rouge?
Sure. There's definitely some hesitations. I mean, he's the guy who, he is the word, self-obsessed or narcissist has hit my inbox quite a few times over the last couple weeks, and I think he's 100% a guy. If he sees an opportunity he wants to take, he's going to put his interest first, and it's certainly something to be concerned about. Who's to say if Alabama were to open, he wouldn't just do what it takes to get to Alabama or Texas or Georgia. You just never know with Lane Kiffin, or even an NFL opportunity. Maybe he wants to clear his name on that front. These are absolutely risks. I will counter that with, here's the thing, Hunt. I want you to just close your eyes and imagine all the Louisiana speed talent we've seen over the last 20 years. Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and just picture these guys in a Lane Kiffin offense. And let me ask you, does that should strike fear into opposing fan bases, thinking about what Lane Kiffin's offense should be able to do with Louisiana talent. So that is why you go with a Lane Kiffin and you accept this baggage and you still make him the highest paid coach, despite all that. Because at the end of the day, the guy knows his X's and O's, and he can put together an elite offense.
To be very clear, I'm pro Lane Kiffin being hired. I just want a perspective on, because there are plenty of LSU fans that are watching this and that have watched him operate that are like, I don't know about this guy. And I think it's a fair point to make. I'm in the point of just let the guy coach ball, and that's what I want him to do. But it's truly not something that I've ever seen before, and we've never seen it before because we've never had it before because of the 12-team playoff. How confident are you, if Lane Kiffin decides to sign that extension this afternoon, that LSU is comfortable pivoting and has its ducks in a row moving the other direction?
Yeah, I'm not so certain they do have their ducks in a row. It's possible, but I haven't heard too much movement on that front. I'm sure behind the scenes they're doing some research and looking into guys here or there, but I'm not so sure in earnest that they have made their decision on what's the next play. I don't think they're sitting there, all right, wait for the no and then execute on this guy right now, right here, right? I think they've filled out some options and they've got some backup plans, but I don't know that it's that. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it is.
All right, let's talk about LSU on the field tomorrow night. I've spent the last 2 days saying these were used to be the games where you would kind of look at what you see and then apply it to next year. With a new coach and the transfer portal, that's really difficult to do. Is there something that you're looking for over the next 2 weeks from LSU?
Well, I'd like to see some young guys ball out and, get some stability going and keep them on the roster, not opt out for the bowl game. I'd certainly like to see that. But in terms of on the field, what I'm looking to see, I'm excited to see Van Buren develop. I mean, he has said he wants to stick around LSU next year with the new coach. And, I'd like to, he showed some promise, although there's definitely some accuracy issues. We talked about it all fall camp, and all these accuracy issues are showing up. That being said, is he playing better than a clearly injured or hurting Nussmeier? Absolutely. He's been playing better than that. I mean, he can make the throws you need to make. It's just, can he start to dial in? I guess what I'm getting at here is, as Van Buren develops experience, is he going to develop, more accuracy as he got more control of the audience, the offense? I'm also looking forward to how does Harlem Berry, is he going to continue to develop and look sharp and all that jazz? It's just at the point, yes, you want to win. Let's put it like this. You beat Western Kentucky, you secure a winning season. And I do think that matters. It shows you have a high floor at LSU. But more so than that, I'm looking to see if these young players develop and play well and then stay on the team next year, not opt out.
Yeah, that's just the part that you can't know at this point. But we'll see as LSU takes the field against Western Kentucky tomorrow night. Timeline for LSU's next coach. Toss it out there. What do you think? But what's a drop dead? Do you think next Sunday is LSU will have a coach?
So not this Sunday, but the Sunday
after they play Oklahoma, and everybody's played that Saturday.
I would guess so. Yes, especially considering a lot of the names that you're hearing being thrown out there are not head coaches in the playoffs, right? They're either coordinators or they're guys who are head coaches of a team that is not in the playoffs, right? So I would say that is likely. And even if the coaches say, let's say you were to go after someone like like a Glenn Schumann, right, DC at Georgia, who's in the playoffs. Because he's a DC, it makes it easier to say, okay, we're going to name him the head coach, but he wants to stick around for this playoff run. Or maybe even they say, well, look, Glenn Schumann, you're great, but we got Will Muschamp on staff too as an analyst. Yeah, it just there's things that make that easier to do. So yeah, I would say that's more likely than not by next Sunday you'll have a coach named.
I kind of feel that way as well. So we'll see. Best of luck to the Guy family with baby number 2, and we'll talk when we talk next, I guess.
Yep. All right, Hunt. See you soon. When that is.
And that's it. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every Friday talking football. A lot of anxious moments there in the Guy household. Is I'm getting text messages every 3 minutes on this deal. It's just crazy. The deal is that not everyone knows, and that's the point I keep going back to, and this is not like a sourced thing. It just makes a lot of sense because you've seen how contract extensions get played out. We've seen this year Indiana extend Kurt Signetti. We've seen this year Texas A&M extend Mike Elko. And when that pen hits the paper, bam, there's a tweet out. Like you immediately, they'd use that as a public, to publicize what's going on as a positive for them. And so when you know that a meeting's happening and you know that you feel like they're in Oxford, Mississippi, they are putting pressure on a decision to be made and no decision is made, that furthers the skepticism that continues to fester. And my point kind of all along since Monday when we talked about his Saturday press conferences, it's just wild that Lane Kiffin allows this to keep going. And he allowing it to keep going because he wants to coach the team in the playoff and he wants to leave, is my opinion. And he feels like if he just kind of drags, that he might get to have his cake and eat it too. And I just don't think Ole Miss is going to allow that. Ole Miss is not going to let LSU's football coach it in the playoff. And finally, the way that would snap is if he just goes, well, then I just can't go because I got to coach in the playoff. And it just feels that simple to me. I've seen a lot of conspiracy theories. This was tweeted at me yesterday where somebody said, well, what if he's just holding Florida and LSU hostage so that they can't hire a coach and he's just impacting their roster negatively? It's like, brother, you got to understand priorities. The priority is not to screw up LSU's coaching search. The priority would be to go win the national championship and have your team focused and your assistant coaches not ticked off at you and your athletic director not beating down the door for a Friday meeting. You wouldn't intentionally sabotage what you're trying to do to maybe have some sort of adverse effect on LSU and Florida finding a new coach, which they're going to find. It's just, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can try to make up that hypothetical. It's nonsensical. It doesn't, you wouldn't, that's the definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's like, gotcha nose. And then you look up and you're like, well, I look like an idiot. You would look like an idiot if you were trying to get your team ready for the biggest run in the history of the school. And the whole time you were creating a media circus and a lot of dissent within your team and uncomfortability with your coaching staff and your athletic director and boosters freaking out. And you're sitting here worried about LSU's 2 cornerback commitments. It just that doesn't make any sense. So this is an internal thing with Ole Miss, and we'll see what the resolution is. I don't pretend to have it right now, but it just feels like connecting the dots is the easiest thing to do. And I think if you get something really, really quickly, he'd probably stay. And if you don't, I think he might be calling Baton Rouge. We shall see. We come back. We'll set the stage for the NFL slate coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at Genesis of Baton Rouge. It's an amazing staff over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Been by there on quite a few occasions, and every interaction is so pleasant. I know a lot of folks have this fear of going onto the car lot because you think a salesperson is just going to approach you really quickly and they're going to try to upsell you and make you all these guarantees and take advantage of you, and it's a pushy, uncomfortable process until you finally sign the paper and then you're not sure what just happened. And I get that. Those stereotypes exist for a reason. It's happened before. It's never going to happen at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They will treat you like a guest, not a customer. They are there to help you understand why Genesis is a luxury brand, show you that reasonable price, get you on your way in a Genesis, and make sure you've got access to America's Best warranty, which includes 3 years of complimentary maintenance, and it's valet. Every bit of your experience at Genesis of Baton Rouge is going to be first class because that's the way they run things over there. Their own airline at PQ. You can go by there and chat with them if you're still a little tentative. That's okay. Go to GenesisBatonRouge.com. The entire inventory is right there for your browsing. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, online at GenesisOfBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
An update from the LSU Board of Supervisors meeting today. For those that have not seen this yet, Piper Hutchinson from the Illuminator, Wilson Alexander from the Advocate, both reporting on this a little earlier today. We've got a story up on LouisianaSports.net citing those two reports. We knew the Board of Supervisors was meeting today, and we knew that they were going to meet in private. When there's litigation involved, the Board of Supervisors can meet in private and then come out in public to vote. That's how that works, and certainly there's litigation involved with Brian Kelly as he has essentially filed suit, looked for a judgment on LSU to fire him without cause under the grounds that he was terminated the day after the Texas A&M game. By now you know that LSU came back and said, well, Scott Woodward didn't have the authority to do that. He had to go to the board. The board didn't give him approval. He acted without authority to fire Brian Kelly. So we're going to fire you now with cause. And that's when things hit the courts. And so today, the Board of Supervisors approved LSU's review of Brian Kelly's situation and gave authority to the president, Dr. Roos, to issue written termination papers to Brian Kelly to officially make that termination. This is what I told you 2 weeks ago when this happened. I am not an attorney, and I don't like the world that they live in. I believe that world is disingenuous and doesn't use a lot of common sense at times. So I'm not going to issue my thoughts on this because I think it's just a wild game of semantics that people are trying to play for millions of dollars, and I will let them figure that out. Wasn't my money on the front end, not my money on the back end, whatever. They can handle it. But I'm just telling you that LSU is planning, it appears, to fire Brian Kelly like now for cause. Whether or not they have a case for that, I have no idea. And that'll be in court, and it'll be in public, and we'll see. My gut is, and trust me, I'm not an attorney, that they'll settle for something eventually. But that's where we are in the legal process. So I'll pass that along. If you'd like to read about it, you can over at LouisianaSports.net. But for now, let's have a little bit more fun than that, and let's set the stage for Sunday in the National Football League. Tier 4, worst football of Sunday. Got a couple of games there. Seahawks, they're good. At the Titans, not good. Cam Ward is 33rd. That's last among qualified quarterbacks in QBR this year. Seattle going to Nashville is a 13-point road favorite. You don't see that a lot in the NFL. The Browns are at the Raiders. These two teams are very, very bad. The intrigue here is that Shedeur Sanders will get his first start. You'll never guess this. Brown rookies in their last 17 opening starts, guess what their record is, Jordan, in their last 17?
2-15?
Two too many wins. 0-17 in their first career starts. That is the Cleveland Browns experiment. Good luck with that, Shedeur. Eric Zier was the last rookie Browns quarterback to win in 1995.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly. Tier 3, Giants are at the Lions. Kelvin Shepherd's defense, pretty good. Has not allowed a 300-yard passer this season. Also, has not allowed a 100-yard rusher this season. That's salty work from Kelvin Shepherd and the Lions defense. They're at home against the Giants. They should smash that team. The Jets are at the Ravens. The Jets have one takeaway on the season. How is that possible? We're 10 games in. Pick up a fumble. Tip the ball in the air. They got one takeaway. It's the fewest through 10 games all time in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, 17-0 outright as a double-digit favorite. They'll win again on Sunday. Jags are at the Cardinals. Cardinals 3-7. Last week they had 17 penalties. That's not good. Jaguars 6-4. If they win against Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals, they're 7-4, and two of their next three games are against the Titans and the Jets. Jags are looking like a playoff team right now. We'll see. All right, Tier 2, better football here. We got 6 games to go. The Vikings are at the Packers. Vikings 4-6, Packers 6-3-1. The Vikings' realistic playoff chances kind of rest on this game. If you go to 4-7 this late, I just don't know if you're going to make up that ground in December. Going to Lambeau's not easy, but they're going to have to get it done against Green Bay. The Patriots are at the Bengals. We don't know yet if Joe Burrow is going to play. Why would he go play for a 3-7 team? I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. I just hope they don't rush him. New England is 5-0 on the road this year. They're the only unbeaten road team in the National Football League this season. The Steelers are at the Bears. Aaron Rodgers, who owns the Bears, by the way, has a broken wrist. He might play, though. The Bears have 22 takeaways in 10 games. I just want to juxtapose that against the Jets, who have 1. The Bears have 21 more takeaways than the Jets. Eagles are at the Cowboys. This is a good one. Dak Prescott, this is an amazing statistic for a guy that has not had any postseason success. He's won 18 straight home division starts. Like, that's really hard to do.
That's impressive.
Brady
actually
may have done that. They were beaten up on that division bad. The Dolphins were terrible. Jets were terrible. The Bills were really bad for Josh Allen. Like, he may have, but 18 straight division starts is crazy. We'll see if he can do that against the Eagles in Arlington. All right, Tier 1, 2 games, the best of the weekend. The Colts are at the Chiefs. Danny Dimes, 4 interceptions in the last 2 games. Look, the Chiefs are 5-5. They're teetering here. All 5 losses by 1 score. We watched the Chiefs last year and they went, how do they keep doing this? How do they keep winning and keep winning and keep winning? They're paying the piper this year. They've lost 5 one-score games. Bucks at Rams, Tier 1. Matt Stafford, 20 touchdowns against the blitz this year. The Bucks, Todd Bowles' defense, number 1 in the NFL in blitz percentage. Can they get to Matt Stafford? Is he going to cook them? The Rams are really good, by the way, real good. I think that might be my Super Bowl team out of the NFC. Not a bold pick. They got the best record in the league, but they're really good. We'll see if the Bucs can go out west and get a win. That is a look at the National Football League. Jordan, how are we feeling about the Rams? Best team in the NFC?
I mean, we'll see what the Eagles look like. If the Eagles can ever
The Eagles are a soap opera.
Yeah,
Put them on Bravo.
Yeah, look, well, also, A.J. Brown's doing his best work to try and destroy that locker room, so
Bravo.
They got to figure all that out. I still like just the Eagles' defense alone, especially getting Jalen Phillips from Miami. It kind of turned them up a little bit. I do like the Rams a lot strictly because, Stafford, what he does, what he brings. He's seen everything. Is the old man, like you said.
I trust Matt Flynn talking about quarterbacks. Matt Flynn says Matt Stafford should win the MVP. I'll take Matt Flynn's word for it. It's better than my word.
I mean, Stafford looks amazing. He's been balling for my fantasy team, so I'm a big Matt Stafford guy this year. But also at the same time, the Bucs gonna sooner or later they gotta wake up because I hate to say it, Bryce Young is.
Oh, no way.
I know. It's blasphemous for me to say that. I know.
Don't give me any Bryce Young.
I know.
No.
If Tampa loses, this is interesting.
Is the Chiefs dynasty over?
No, because I think they're going to win this game against the Colts. They have to. Well, I'm cheating a little bit. All the handicappers are picking the Chiefs this week, so I'm kind of picking the Chiefs too. But if they lose this game, like you said, it's over. But if they win, you kind of
the dynasty hangs in the balance.
Yes, it does.
In KC at Arrowhead. They haven't played bad. They're 5-5, which looks bad. They haven't played bad. They're just not winning the games they won last year.
Well, also, Hunt, if you remember the Monday night game against the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence literally fell down, got up, and ran it in the end zone. That's like how they've been losing all year.
The NFL has so many really close games.
Yeah.
They got that figured out. All right, we'll come back and preview Saints and Falcons next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com. This hurricane season is in the rearview mirror. We like that quiet around here. The quietest I can ever remember, but you always know the next one's coming. So this might be a great time without a lot of pressure and with the fact that the insurance companies know that we had a hurricane season that went through to go ahead and look at that property policy and make sure for next year, whenever your renewal is, you've got the proper coverages. The property policy can be complicated. Co-insurance, building valuations, deductibles, whether it's a named storm, whether it's just a flat 2%. You can move that deductible up and down for the right premium based on your risk appetite. These are things you need to talk to your broker about if you haven't had those discussions or don't know what some of that stuff is. The Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carbo and his team are happy to help you out. They're technical experts in insurance, and they are there to help you make sure that your coverage is where it needs to be. They will always take premium into account. They've got dozens of markets they can place your property into, but they're going to make sure the coverage reads properly as well. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online, HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We'll get my SEC picks against the spread coming up here in 13 minutes. A light week in terms of picks because everyone's out of conference. You play an FCS team, there's no line. So it's not a huge week of picks, but I'll give you my losers when we come back on at the top of the hour. Usually they say I'll give you my winners. I'll give you my losers when we come back at the top of the hour.
Well, just be like, fade them. Just fade them.
Exactly. That's what we're here for. I'll tell you this. I am a very, very mild-mannered person. I'm very, very, very non-confrontational. I've told you all the time that we do this personality test here at Guarantee. There are 9 numbers on this Enneagram scale, and every one denotes another personality, and I'm a 9. And 9 is just completely non-confrontational. That's how I choose to live my life, or maybe just the way I'm programmed. Either way, it's the way it is. But I do love hatred in sports. Hatred in the real world, I have no use for. And it's bad. Hatred in sports, I'm in. We go play, and then you figure things out, you move on. But I love rivalries, and the Saints and Falcons is a great rivalry. I think it's a rivalry that the NFL doesn't quite understand. It doesn't get as much pub as some of the others. You're not going to hear Bears-Packers vibes here, Cowboys-Eagles, Cowboys-Giants. Even like in recent years, you've had incredible games between the Rams and 49ers and all those games out in the NFC West, those good teams. Of course, you got, Peyton and Brady, but like Peyton Manning and Brady. But like the Saints and Falcons is an awesome rivalry because these two teams hate each other. These two fan bases hate each other. And I like that a lot. And I'm very, very curious to see what the Dome looks like on Sunday because I think the Dome's going to bring juice on Sunday. It has not had juice all year. I think it brings juice on Sunday. Coming off a bye, you've got this new quarterback. Everyone's excited about it. And here's the deal. I think on Sunday, you get a decent look at some of the young pieces on this Saints offense. Spencer Rattler is not going to be out there. It's going to be Tyler Shuck. You do have Kelvin Banks at left tackle. Tallahassee Fuaga is still questionable. We'll see. Hopefully he can play at right tackle. That's another piece we're talking about here. Devin Neal is going to get some run in this game behind Kamara. And you don't have Brandon Cooks and you don't have Rashid Shaheed. So you got Olave, who they're talking about an extension with. And then behind him, you got Devon Vele and Mason Tipton. Now, the Saints may move forward next year and not have much of a role for Devon Vele or Mason Tipton. Like, that's possible. But this is your chance to look and see. So I'm excited to watch Tyler Shuck operate at home against a fairly vulnerable Falcons pass defense that Bryce Young torched and see what these young guys have. Just see a little chemistry. Now, the Saints offensive line is going to have to protect because the Falcons can rush the passer. But I'm excited to see the Saints' young nucleus go to work. You flip sides of the ball, and you got Kirk Cousins out there, no Drake London. You got to stop Bijan Robinson. That's goal number 1. And if you don't do that, then you're cooked. But you've got to do that like you did in Carolina a couple of weeks ago. There's one player who I think stands out in this game. One player for the Saints on the defense. It's Chase Young. You've got to go get up the field and get after Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins can't move. Kirk Cousins cannot evade the pressure. Kirk Cousins will make questionable decisions if you get after him. And Kirk Cousins can get flustered. We've seen this as well. Full dome, Chase Young coming off the edge, that's got to be the recipe beyond Bijan Robinson for this Saints team. I was really curious what the line was going to be on this game. And to see the Saints favored by 1.5, you got the home field advantage in there, means that Vegas thinks this is basically a toss-up. And I see it that way as well. It's a Falcons team that's grossly underperforming. It's a Saints team that's what we kind of all figured they might be in August. I'm okay with the Saints winning games. But those wins need to come with affirmation in Shuck. I'm not super wild about Shuck throwing 2 picks and the Saints winning 13-7. Like, that would be a great effort from the defense. The defense is aging. I'm thrilled with what they did in Carolina, but I can't count on that moving forward. Every win needs to come with Shuck improvement. You got that in Carolina. It was his first start. He made some throws on third down. He improvised a little bit. He hit a couple plays down the field. That's all very good. if you're going to win and compromise that draft situation, which I'm fine with, I'm not tanking, but wins need to come with affirmation and Shuck. I'm okay backing that draft pick up to 5, 7, 9 if you got your quarterback. And I won't know Sunday evening at 7:30 p.m. if the Saints have their quarterback. I won't know that. I won't know that they don't either. But I need to see steps forward. And I think this is an opportunity to do it. This might be the most juice the Saints play in front of and play in all year, as far as in their home stadium. Because everyone knows they're not going to the playoff, but this is the Falcons coming in, and that means something to the people in New Orleans. And there's a little bit of buzz coming off the bye. As I mentioned to Luke Johnson on our interview yesterday, the Saints haven't lost in a while. It's been 3 weeks since the Saints lost. There's some good vibes. Let's keep those going on Sunday. I have picked the Saints to win more times than I care to admit this time around, but I'm doing it again. I picked the Saints to win 27-20 in this game. They got to stop Bijan Robinson. Chase Young's got to get after Kirk Cousins, and let's see if Shuck can cook with those young receivers. I'd like to see Vele make some good third down catches. Maybe one of those Mason Tipton plays we hear about every August. Mason Tipton got loose again. Mason Tipton another touchdown. Hear about that in practice all the time. Let's see it in the dome. A little bit of Devin Neal, a little bit of Kamara. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid after the bye week. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to apologize for that. I like the Houdats to win this game over Atlanta. A little bit of a party in the dome. And let's see if they can create a little momentum in the second half of the season against a very, very manageable part of the schedule. That's my pick for Saints and Falcons. Jordan?
Yeah.
It's a late game. Could be a nap game for you.
No, not this one. This is the Saints versus Falcons. And you just say you're drinking a Kool-Aid. Well, thankfully, we have a Kool-Aid on the team who I feel like is going to have a big game. I also feel like, according to Football Database, it's 56-56 currently for the rivalry. I got the Saints winning this one. I had the Saints, let's say 24. Kirk Cousins off the couch, 17. I got the Saints 24-17. Tyler Shuck, you already know. He's going to shuck them. But at the same time, this is key. You have to get to Kirk Cousins. If they cannot generate a pass rush, Chase Young, this is the time. Gradison, this is the time. You have to get to Kirk Cousins. Like you said, he's a statue. And that's the only way I really feel like the Saints are going to win this game if they cause havoc on Cousins.
Well, Cousins won't go back there very much if they can't stop Bijan. That's first. But they did that 2 weeks ago with Rico. With Rico, so just give me more of that. But we've also seen a couple games. The Bears game is just like burned in my brain. Yeah. Like I watched the game, but then before I talk about it, I usually go back and watch the highlights. And the Bears just handing the ball off, and the running backs were just getting a running start, like 15 yards. Like,
Manungai and
you never
Swift.
see that in the NFL. Well, you were seeing it that day. All right, Saints, let's see if you can get it done on Sunday. We'll step aside for national headlines at SportsCenter. My phone's blowing up. We'll see if something's going on. I don't know. But we will do SEC picks against the spread probably when we come back on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.